A Test of Faith, the story of Samuel Ajayi. Samuel Ajayi was born in the quiet village of Omuaran in Kwara State, Nigeria. The last of 5 children, his life began with loss. His father passed away when he was just 3 years old, leaving his mother, Mama Ajayi, to carry the burden of raising 5 children on her own. But she was not alone. Her strength came from a deep, unwavering faith in God. Every morning, the Ajayi household came alive at 5 a.m. with prayer and worship. No matter how tired or hungry they were, Mama Ajayi's voice echoed through their mud-walled home, declaring the promises of God. Her favorite phrase was, "God never abandons his own." And she lived like she believed it. Samuel clung to one verse in particular, James 1 verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. That verse became a lifeline through all the storms that lay ahead. From a young age, Samuel showed signs of brilliance and compassion. He would mediate disputes among his peers, settle disagreements, and advocate for classmates who were bullied. By the time he graduated secondary school, he announced that he wanted to become a lawyer, not to get rich, but to defend the poor and stand for truth. His neighbors laughed. Which poor village boy becomes a lawyer? But Samuel never flinched. God will make a way, he would say. When the news came that he had been accepted to study law at Obafemi Awolowo University, he wept for hours. Then he fasted for 7 days in thanksgiving. It felt like a dream. But what Samuel didn't know was that this was only the beginning. The tests of faith, temptation, and endurance were yet to come.
The first temptation, academic corruption. University life was different, more chaotic, more competitive, and more corrupt. Samuel arrived with nothing but a metal box, 2 shirts, 1 pair of trousers, and his mother's prayers. Despite the challenges, he excelled in his first year. He never missed class and often spent nights reading by candlelight when the hostel had no electricity. His classmates admired his discipline, but not everyone was impressed. In his 3rd year, things took a dark turn. A notorious lecturer in the Faculty of Law, popularly called Mr. Bullet, had a reputation for academic extortion. If you wanted to pass his course, you either paid in cash or in kind. During the semester, Samuel turned in all his assignments and aced the tests. But when the results came out, he saw a glaring F beside the course. Confused and devastated, he approached the lecturer. The man leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Ajayi, you're smart, but not smart enough. You know what to do if you want to pass. 200,000 naira or forget this course. And if you report me, your transcript will disappear." Samuel walked out of the office with his fists clenched and his eyes wet. That night, he cried before God, "Lord, I did everything right. I studied. I prayed. Why is this happening?" But in his heart, he heard a quiet whisper, "I am testing your faith. Do not bow." For the next semester, Samuel retook the course. He repeated the entire syllabus and barely scraped by with a C. His classmates had long since paid and moved on with high grades. But Samuel walked with his head held high. By his final year, Samuel's GPA had dropped. He would not graduate with honors, but he would graduate with integrity. On the day of his convocation, his mother sat beside him, tears streaming down her face. "You didn't take the shortcut, my son. God will reward you," she said. After graduation, Samuel entered the dreaded Nigerian job market. For 3 years, he submitted CVs, attended interviews, and faced constant rejection. Many of his classmates, including those who cheated, had landed top jobs in law firms or multinational corporations. One day, a former classmate named Deo reached out. "Guy, come work with me," he said. "The pay is good, real estate and investment stuff. Easy money." Samuel showed up at the office only to discover it was a front for fraudulent activity. They forged land documents and sold non-existent plots to desperate buyers. When he confronted Deo, the response was blunt. Not condition make crayfish bend. Just collect your share and close your eyes. Samuel left the office that day with nothing but his worn-out shoes and a clear conscience. Weeks passed. Hunger became real. He ate once a day, sometimes not at all. He could no longer afford rent and moved into a small room behind a church where he had once volunteered. When the church found out he had a law degree, they offered him a job as a cleaner. "Cleaner?" he asked. "It's what we can afford now. At least you'll eat," the pastor said. Samuel accepted the job. Every morning, he swept the church compound, cleaned toilets, and arranged chairs. Members whispered behind his back, "Is that not the law graduate?" But Samuel would often quote Colossians 3 verse 23 to himself. "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." One evening, while scrubbing the floor, a stranger walked in. She was a visiting missionary lawyer from the UK. "Why is a man like you cleaning here?" she asked. He smiled. "Because God hasn't opened the next door yet." She was impressed by his humility and asked for his story. A week later, she returned and handed him an envelope. "You've been awarded a full scholarship to study human rights law in the UK," she said. "God just opened the next door." Life in the UK was fast-paced but full of opportunities. Samuel excelled in his postgraduate studies, and doors began to open. Invitations came for internships, speaking engagements, and conferences. It was at one such event that he met Nina, a stunning, sophisticated Nigerian woman who ran a successful fashion business in London. Nina was wealthy, charming, and instantly drawn to Samuel's intelligence and quiet confidence. They started spending time together. She bought him clothes, introduced him to high society, and spoke of marriage. One night over dinner, she said, "Samuel, you have so much potential. But this whole religious thing, maybe tone it down. I mean, it's not realistic in our world." Samuel smiled, trying to remain calm. "My faith is not a phase. It's who I am." She frowned. "You're limiting yourself. You could have everything: wealth, status, power. Just stop being so rigid." He knew what she meant. The implied message was clear. Compromise your faith, and the world is yours. That night, Samuel cried before God. "Lord, why is it so hard to love you in a world like this?" But again he heard the same still voice. "I am refining you. Do not bow." He ended the relationship the next day, his heart broken but his soul at peace. The turning point, God's favor begins to show. After completing his program, Samuel returned to Nigeria, not to a flashy job, but to fulfill a calling. He started a small legal aid center for widows, orphans, and the wrongfully accused. The funding was low, the struggles many, but the impact was undeniable. One viral video of him defending a poor widow against land grabbers caught the attention of an international Christian NGO. Soon after, they partnered with him to expand his work. Media houses began featuring him. He was invited to speak in conferences across Africa, Europe, and America, always sharing his story, always giving God glory. His mother, now old and frail, watched from her village home as her son stood beside presidents, judges, and human rights leaders. "I told you," she said with a smile. "God never abandons his own." Years passed, and Samuel became a household name. He had founded one of Nigeria's largest faith-based legal aid organizations, impacting thousands. But God wasn't done yet. At a Christian conference in Abuja, he met Grace, a soft-spoken, prayerful medical doctor. Their connection was instant, their values aligned. Within a year, they married. With her support, Samuel launched a Christian university focused on ethics, leadership, and faith in public service. The institution trained lawyers, doctors, engineers, and teachers with godly foundations. He built scholarships for the poor, mentored hundreds of youths, and never once forgot the cleaner's mop or the hunger he once faced. One day, a government official approached him. "You've been nominated for national honors. The president wants to recognize your service to the nation." Samuel smiled. "To God be the glory." Reflection on faithfulness. Now in his 60s, Samuel sat on the porch of his home, a quiet estate surrounded by trees and laughter of grandchildren. He often looked back and smiled, not because the journey had been easy, but because God had been faithful. When asked to speak at a youth gathering, he held up his Bible and said, "Temptation will come, poverty will knock, lust will whisper, corruption will entice. But remember this, the trials are not meant to destroy you. They are refining fires. Stay with God." He opened to Job 23 verse 10 and read aloud, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." The crowd stood in silence. Then Samuel added, "I am not a perfect man, but I am a faithful one. God never forgot me, and he won't forget you either." And in that moment, the testimony of a village boy who chose integrity over compromise, faith over fear, and God over gold lit a new fire in the hearts of all who heard.
If you love God and want Him to change and transform your life for good, subscribe, like, and comment. Amen.